Today is April 17th, 2025, and you're listening to Space News First Up.
Did you know Space News now has 6 newsletters? We recently added an audio, video, and live events newsletter and are now launching our bi-weekly China report. To sign up, visit spacenews.com/newsletters.
Here are today's top headlines in space. The U.S. Space Force has released a new document on its plans to defend American satellites and target enemy space systems. For the first time in more than a decade, a Minotaur 4 rocket launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base on Wednesday. The Space Force is changing how it evaluates risk for launches, a move that could make it easier for new entrants. 5 companies received $26 million in awards from the Texas Space Commission Wednesday. And a Chinese team has provided new details on how it salvaged a pair of lunar satellites last year.
First Up is produced by Space News, the industry standard for professional space journalism. Visit spacenews.com for breaking news, policy updates, and original analysis.
We begin today with news that the U.S. Space Force has released a new document on its plans to defend American satellites and target enemy space systems. The document, titled Space Warfighting, a Framework for Planners, and released Thursday, outlines how U.S. forces might assert control of the orbital high ground through a range of offensive and defensive operations, reflecting an evolution in how the military thinks about warfare beyond Earth. U.S. defense planners now view space as an active battleground, one that underpins nearly every modern military function, from missile warning systems to precision navigation. A Space Force general said the release of the Warfighting Manual reflects the normalization of the service as a military branch that plans and conducts warfare alongside the other services. For the first time in more than a decade, a Minotaur 4 rocket launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base on Wednesday. The solid-fuel rocket lifted off from Space Launch Complex 8 at Vandenberg at 3:33 p.m. Eastern on the NROL 174 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. The rocket placed multiple classified payloads into orbit, but the NRO did not disclose details on the mission. The launch was the first for the Minotaur 4, a rocket derived from the Peacekeeper ICBM from Vandenberg since 2011, and the first for the rocket from any location since a July 2020 launch from Wallops Island, Virginia. The Space Force is changing how it evaluates risk for launches, a move that could make it easier for new entrants. Under the National Security Space Launch (NSSL) Phase 3 procurement strategy, the Space Force has adopted a tiered approach to mission assurance. For Lane 1 of NSSL, for missions that do not require the same stringent oversight as more complex Lane 2 launches, the Space Force has set up a system that goes from Tier 0, which require no government oversight, up to Tier 3, which involves some assurance protocols for missions that, while not critical, still carry meaningful risks. The service says that approach opens up the market to vehicles not yet formally certified, but which have performed successful commercial missions. 5 companies received $26 million in awards from the Texas Space Commission Wednesday. The commission provided grants ranging from less than $700,000 to $10 million to Aegis Aerospace, Icon Technology, Interloon, Cooler Technology Group, and Venus Aerospace Corporation. The awards will support projects in Texas, ranging from work on lunar simulants to rocket engine test facilities and an in-space advanced manufacturing platform. The commission has allocated nearly 2/3 of the $150 million set aside by the Texas legislature in 2023 for awards to support the state's space industry, and officials are hoping the legislature will allocate additional funds in its ongoing session. A Chinese team has provided new details on how it salvaged a pair of lunar satellites last year. The DRO-A and DRO-B spacecraft were stranded in the wrong orbit last March after an upper stage malfunction. The team involved with the mission had to first stabilize the spacecraft and correct problems with their solar arrays, then perform a series of maneuvers within days. Over 4 months, the 2 spacecraft were able to reach their planned distant retrograde orbit around the Moon, where they established a 3-satellite communications network with the DRO-L satellite in Earth orbit. In other news, Boeing has completed a ground model of a satellite intended to test quantum communications technologies. Boeing said, Wednesday, the ground twin of the Q-4S satellite is now complete, and undergoing environmental tests. Q4S, scheduled for launch next year, will test quantum entanglement technologies with applications such as ultra-secure communications. European spaceflight reports that the Polish government is funding development of a set of Earth observation satellites. The European Space Agency, acting on behalf of the Polish Ministry of Development and Technology, awarded a contract worth 52 million euros, 59 million, to Cryotech Instruments for the development of 3 satellites for the Country Awareness Mission in Land Analysis, or CAMILA, system. One satellite will have a high-resolution camera, another a lower-resolution camera, and the third a radar imager. The contract includes options for a 4th satellite and potential on-orbit servicing. Space.com reports that the Japan's Hayabusa 2 spacecraft is in safe mode after an onboard glitch. The spacecraft went into a safe mode last month because of an undisclosed issue, but continues to communicate with ground controllers. It was unclear how long the spacecraft will remain in that protective state, or any impacts it might have on its extended mission. After delivering a sample canister from the asteroid Ryugu to Earth in 2020, the main Hayabusa 2 spacecraft began an extended mission to go to the asteroid 1998 KY26, with arrival scheduled for 2031. The Washington Post reports that scientists claim to have found a potential sign of life on an extrasolar planet. In a paper published Wednesday, astronomers said observations of the exoplanet K218b, 124 light-years away, by the James Webb Space Telescope revealed the spectral signature of dimethyl sulfide, DMS. On Earth, DMS is created by the decay of phytoplankton and other microbes, and the researchers involved in the study consider it a biosignature, or evidence of possible life there. However, other scientists note that there are ways to produce DMS without life, meaning its detection is not necessarily evidence of life on that exoplanet.